Growing up and going to school, we learn a lot. From science, history, art, and even music. We are really just beginning to understand the world around us. But at times, we can be tested over things that we weren't taught about in school. But just because those answers aren't simply in the back of a book, doesn't mean give up. Because there is help. This is Youth to Youth, Stories of Help and Hope. These are the faces of youth in eastern Missouri who have lost their lives to heroin. According to the medical examiner, there were 210 deaths in 2010 alone in St. Louis City and County. This is David. He too faced the dangerous grip of heroin and has struggled with sobriety since the age of 11.
14 or 15, whenever I first smoked crack, and it's like me and three of my buddies, they were older than me, they were in their 20s, and we drove down into the city, pulled up on the street corner, asked the first guy we saw if he had any. I was in the back seat. The guy in the front seat was considering robbing the guy with the drugs. If we can rob him, then we'll save our money, we'll get the drugs, and we'll go to the next guy and we'll get his.
There are many reasons a person will begin using drugs. Pressure to fit in amongst friends, the environment at home, or attempting to escape the negative feelings associated with any life conflict.
When we're growing up, as kids, as teenagers, there's an experimental kind of thing going on. We want to do things that are different. We want to have these different experiences. And so part of it can be curiosity. Once the curiosity factor is kind of satisfied, though, then it becomes about wanting to change the way we feel. So I may not like the way my life is going. And I know that if I drink, that if I use heroin, that if I smoke weed, I'm going to feel different. And oftentimes, it's about numbing from something that we don't want to feel.
In David's case, his drug use at an early age was a way for him to escape the stress of his parents' divorce and the financial struggles that followed.
So we start using and then we feel calm. Okay, this makes me feel good. Well, then that stops working. And then you're forced with, well, now I can't hang out with my peers because I'm this kind of person. I'm a drug addict. They don't want to be around me. And the drugs that I'm addicted to don't work. So then you have to have, that's the aha moment that I was talking about. It's that moment when you can't live life the way you're living it, but you can't live life without it either, And that's the suicidal. I had attempted suicide more than once just because I didn't want to keep using heroin. It wasn't because I didn't want to live, it was because I couldn't stop.
Heroin is a highly addictive drug. After immediate use, it makes users feel euphoric and relaxed. However, after the effects wear off, addicts need the drug to feel normal again.
What ends up happening as you use a drug more often, you kind of reset the brain to have that bar higher. So you're not experiencing things as you would normally. Your brain is kind of reset so that it needs a higher level of that dopamine in order to feel good. So the brain actually rewires itself. And what ends up happening is through genetics and through that continued habitual use, the brain comes to interpret needing that drug for survival. And that's why we see people who will not eat, who will lose weight, who will neglect their physical appearance, because the brain is actually telling us that I need this drug for survival. And at that point, then, we call it dependence.
Heroin users typically inject the drug into the blood. However, now, the drug is being produced in powder form, making it easier to obtain and easier to use. Not everyone makes it when it comes to battling heroin, and 21-year-old Kevin Mullane lost his battle in November of 2009. His then-girlfriend Allie talks about the struggle.
I knew he had gone to rehab before we started dating. I knew that there had been an issue beforehand. And he went away to someplace in Florida for 6 months, and everybody thought he was fine. He came back home, everything was good. I had just left Cape Girardeau, I was at SEMO, and we just kind of got back together.
However, with any recovering addict, relapse is a constant threat. And after a period of sobriety, Kevin's behavior changed, making it clear that he started using again.
The anger out of nowhere, just so angry or forgetful and depressed, like he wouldn't want to wake up for days, you know, like that was not him, that's not how he was.
Just 6 months before Kevin's death, Allie gave birth to their son Braden. Allie raises Braden with the help of her fiancé as well as Kevin's family, but things weren't always easy.
It's hard because he looks so much like him. It's really hard. And there are days when Braden is mad at me and he gives me that look, that Kevin look, that's like, wow, okay, you know, but the families are better now. Everybody gets along, you know, his mom and dad, well, his mom and stepdad see Braden and everything's amicable again, but it was really ugly in the beginning. I could not live with myself knowing that I took away a family's only shot at a grandchild. I could not do that. Kevin was an only child. I am an only child. Had the situation been flipped and he would to keep Braden from my family, like, you can't do that to people.
To anyone addicted to drugs or alcohol, the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Abuse is an excellent resource for getting help.
Well, I want anybody who finds themselves in a situation being addicted to understand that there is a way out, there is a solution. You can get help, and help is remarkably effective in terms of getting you off of it and getting back on a path or getting onto a path of wellness. The most important thing is to reach out for help, make a phone call. That's why we have the helpline here, which is 962-3456. If they call here, they can talk to a counselor immediately. And it'll be a substance abuse counselor who really understands these issues. And we can give some direction over the phone if they like, but they can also come in. There's no charge for it. And we can have a conversation and help them understand better where they're at, what their options are, what the resources are in the community to get help, and plug them in, help them get plugged in.
I would say that we as people need to get a little more familiar with the emotions that we're uncomfortable feeling. That we need to give ourselves permission to feel uncomfortable and to sit with that a little bit. Because avoiding all of that stuff really can just lead to negative consequences. And if you don't have somebody that you can share those uncomfortable, vulnerable things with, then find someone, call a crisis line. They're always available to assist. But get to know some of those things. It can really be helpful.
There are people out there that love you, and feelings aren't fact. That's a real important one. The way you feel right now is gonna change, probably tomorrow, maybe later tonight. So most of the time you're using because you want to change the way you feel. You don't have to. If you just keep doing what you're supposed to do, the way you feel is gonna change. And then in the long run, you'll be grateful that you didn't go for that immediate gratification, because it doesn't fix or solve anything. It just prolongs, you know, the inevitable, which there's a problem, and the problem is gonna have its impact. You know, you can either work through it or avoid it, but it's always gonna be there until you work through it.